3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Welcome to the Remote Photography Podcast. In this episode, I speak with model Taylor White about her remote photography experiences. Enjoy the podcast. Hi Taylor, thanks for doing the podcast. If people don't know who you are, can you give us a brief outline of your career, please?
Well, hello there. Thank you for having me. My name is Taylor White. I'm a traveling freelance model. I'm based in Central Florida currently, but I travel the world, mainly the U.S., though, for my work. I've been doing it for about 7.5 years. I have been doing remote tethered shooting now for about a year. Right after the pandemic started. And other than that, I've been in the same boat as everybody else during this.
So obviously, over the last year, you've been in a lot of remote shooting. How did you find out about it?
So I was looking on Facebook mainly through the groups, and I saw that a couple people had started doing it online. And I originally had saw that they were doing it through FaceTime and video chat on Messenger and things like that. And then I saw about 2 people that had started doing it with DSLRs, and I saw that the quality was much better. So I basically just jumped on the bandwagon with the rest of them as quickly as possible to try and profit and also build off of this new venture. And it's done great for everybody, including myself, I'd say.
Was it the aspect of like the FaceTime and stuff that put you off, or was it just you were like looking at the beginning and thought, okay, this is something, because I can't obviously shoot in person safely now, I should jump into?
I really liked the concept from the beginning, but I didn't like the quality of the image that was coming off of like webcam shooting. I thought it was a little granulated. I saw some people that had done some impressive things with it, but once the DSLR's software and everything started coming out, I was much more interested in that.
At the moment, what's the current setup you have to do remote shooting?
So I have both an indoor and outdoor setup. So inside I have a monitor stand that's on wheels that can hold my laptop, and I also have an LCD monitor mounted to the top of it where I use an HDMI cable so I can have dual monitor hookup and I can see myself. And also the photographer, if they have 2 monitors, can have dual monitor hookup while using TeamViewer or Google Remote to be able to transfer the screens so they don't have to keep going back and forth. And I also have an entire setup studio in my home, paper, backdrops, natural light, strobes. And then for my outdoor rig, I have, it's a tripod with an arm from Tether Tools, which has a mount, custom-made mount for my laptop that can also attach to the camera. And then it has 2 tripod mounts that go onto the arm for cell phones, so that one can be going for video chat for the photographer to be able to see me live time and in case there's any lag, because it's a 1 monitor setup outside, and then one to be able to do behind the scenes pictures and video. So with the software that I've been using with my setup, I've been mainly using Digicam Control for the camera settings, and it's a great software. I really enjoy it, but I don't know if it's just me. I've heard a couple other people have had this issue, but not a lot. Some people have had flawless, no issues with it, but I have an issue where Digicam Control keeps updating their software, and every single time they update it, it makes it so that the older software is no longer viable. So I have to uninstall the software, reinstall the software, and that's happened 30 times. So when you're trying to shoot and you're in the middle of a shoot and they're running software updates and your software just goes down, it gets aggravating. So there's this new software that I found, and it's called Remote.
Okay. It
specializes with Sony, but you can also use Nikon and Canon with it. And it's much simpler software to use. Everything is all encompassed into one instead of having to go back and forth between screens with like live view and then the main screen with your settings and pictures. You can view everything on one monitor. And the way that it's divided up is much simpler to use. For screen sharing, what I normally use personally is I use TeamViewer, and I was using some other softwares, but for myself, I've felt like it doesn't lag as much for me. And it doesn't drop connection. I do like how it has temporary passwords that are constantly reset that I can even do during shooting.
So I was going to say, it sounds like you've used it for a few variations on the software, and so you've just settled on one that's worked for you?
Yeah, I've tried the Nikon, I've tried the Canon, and I've tried Digicam Control. And I still will use Digicam if I can't get the remote one to work, but I prefer this one.
Over the course of your remote experiences, what countries have you had photographers remote shooting from?
So I've shot with a lot of people in the U.S. from different states. I've shot with people in Canada, Puerto Rico, Germany, Jamaica, and I believe I shot, if I'm correct, with someone in the Netherlands. I think that's where they were.
Okay. So has it been mostly American photographers for you, or was it a lot of Europeans or people from other countries that first?
I would say it was about 50-50.
Okay.
But now that things have started opening back up, I'm mainly getting remote tethered shooting from people overseas. What I do love about the process, though, is because I was touring quite frequently and going to a lot of locations that people are not easily able to access. So I have a hotspot with me, which has and I have a hotspot, like, how do I put it? It's like a connection. It makes it so that your cell tower connection goes wider. An extension.
Right.
I don't know the word for it right now, but
I think extender or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an extender of some type.
Yeah.
But self tower extender. But I've traveled to these places and I can't do it in like high up in the national parks, like where the places I go. But like when I've gone to the teepees out in Dripping Springs or the cabins out there, or I've done stuff in Utah. I had a cabin there in a mining town. I did some stuff at La Jolla Cove in San Diego. I did some stuff out in Nashville in street photography. I did some things in White Sands National Park. And through that, I have wherever everybody is able to access me.
Yeah, because I've seen shots where you on, like, was it a beach? It was more like rocks near a beach, and I've seen shots where it looks like you're on a small airfield or something where you've been doing remote shooting as well.
Yes, that was actually in Central Florida. Yes, that was a cool shoot. A friend of ours has a plane that they allowed us to shoot with, and that was a great time. And I'm going to continue to do shootout days, basically, where I'll have something interesting accessible that I wouldn't normally have. I have a boat shoot coming up.
Okay, I don't think anyone's done that before.
I have a sailboat available. So that's going to be fun.
Cool. So obviously it looks like your shoots are more location oriented, with some people there it's more in like an Airbnb or in their own home. Which ones do you prefer? Do you prefer like the location or keeping it simple?
Well, that's a difficult question. So for how easy it is, I would prefer to do it in my home or an Airbnb, because it becomes much more difficult, much more dangerous when you start bringing gear outside like that. Because when I was in La Jolla, a wave came and took my laptop. But we still got the shots. The hard drive was not ruined, thank God. But we got the shots off.
You just sacrificed the laptop for the shots.
We just sacrificed the laptop for a good cause. Yeah. But I like the outdoor one more because it is more challenging, and I feel like it shows a lot of promise. But I like doing all of it. When I first started, I was mainly doing it in my house. And then I did a tour from Florida all the way across the country to Arizona and back, where I was basically just remote tethered shooting. So I had studios, Airbnbs, outside. I basically do all of it. It does get a little bit more boring when you have the same location over and over and over again.
Because the first time I saw you was when, I think it was literally when you did that road trip, as it were. You literally said, I'm going to be here. It's all going to be remote shooting. And I think most people were thinking, is she crazy? She's doing remote shooting on a road trip. But then I think people started to see the images coming back, and they were like, oh, hold on. Because this was like right at the beginning of the pandemic. And people were saying, hold on, she's onto something here. Because like the results coming back were amazing.
Yeah, obviously Sam was the one to start all of this, but I was the first one to do a road trip like that and make it work. And I'm not going to lie, it was extremely difficult and I broke a lot of stuff. But through trial and error, we made it work. And a lot of people did think it was crazy. But now everybody's doing it outside. I see girls out in Yosemite doing it.
And then you're thinking, I did that last year. So.
I want to get back on the road and do more of it. But what I think I'm going to do for a little bit is, because I'm kind of tired, is I'm going to basically just go all the way across Florida and Georgia for a little bit.
So it's keep it local.
Yeah, keep it, well, like within the states, you know, like I'll travel and find really cool spots. And then I think I'll do another tour like that, but it's going to be a little bit.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you find remote shooting limiting? But obviously from what you've said and the images I'm guessing you'll find it's like, well, if I can tether to somewhere and get an internet connection, I'm shooting it. So I'm guessing you don't find the limitations of remote shooting being a thing?
I find no limitations as long as you have a little bit of willpower and a little bit of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult, but it can be done. And, Google is your friend.
Yeah.
If you just keep searching, you'll figure it out. Like the rig that I built would have cost retail probably about $900. But I'm a cheapskate, so I built it for $265.
So was it you just found bits that worked for you, or you just Googled, oh, I need like a laptop stand and went from there?
So the arm that I bought, which is the most important part of building an outdoor rig, because you don't want that to fall because all your gear goes down. The arm I did buy from Tethered Tools, and that was the most expensive part. I believe it was about $120, but that was worth it. So for the tripods, for all of the adapters, for everything else, I basically just was like, okay, this is what they're selling on Tethered Tools. I bet you I can find the same exact thing that's not Tethered Tools brand and buy it, which is what I did. But it took a lot longer.
Yeah.
It took me about 3.5 months to build that thing.
Was there a bit of trial and error, or was it like...
Yes. I actually had to take the arm to Ace Hardware and have them decompose it, like take it apart and then solder it.
So you had to MacGyver the stand, basically.
Yeah, it's a custom built stand. It will work with any camera and it'll work with any tripod, but yeah, it's custom made and it's soldered in there, so it can't be taken out. It's the way it is now.
So when someone wants to shoot with Taylor, how do you prefer a photographer to present their ideas? Is it through a mood board, an email, or is it something where the photographer will just say, I want to shoot with you, and then you'll like wing it on the day?
So I accept all of the above, but if you want a specific concept, because I know people shoot differently. Some people will see my work and just be like, okay, I want you to do what you normally do. So I'll just, show up and they tell me what they want. That's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. But if you want a specific concept, or you want specific wardrobe, hair, makeup, I appreciate a mood board or at least reference photos of some type so that I can see what you want rather than me just guessing and then, now the pictures aren't the way that you would like them.
And how do you find is for yourself, the optimum amount of time for remote shooting? Is it like a couple of hours, 4 hours, or something in between?
I do a lot of 1 hour bookings because what people like to do when I go on tour and stuff is that they'll book an hour in each location.
Okay.
So they'll book like 4 to 6 hours, but they want every single spot. But then I've had people, even in my own home, that have booked me for 4 to 6 hours. So it's honestly kind of just a little bit all over the place.
And have you found the aspect of remote shooting where you have to because obviously when we shoot, you had to get up, move the zoom lens and stuff. Did you find that daunting at the beginning, or is it something you've just got used to now that you're having to be the lighting person, the set designer, even the camera person at times?
I mean, I'm not going to lie, it is difficult doing the job of 3 people and being one person, but before I started remote tethered shooting, I had a decent understanding of lighting and camera techniques and things of that nature. But also I taught myself and also spoke with other photographers about everything before I started advertising myself. And I also have a friend who's a photographer, Bob Rabashad, who is based out of Dallas, Texas, who's my IT guy when I can't be the IT guy anymore. And I just call him up in the middle of the shoot. Hey, Bob, remote in, fix it.
Did you ever do any test shoots with photographer fans, or is it you just went straight in at the deep end?
I did 3 test shoots before I started.
And did that help you get used to the aspect of it? So when you said you were doing remote shoots to offer the prospect of doing remote shoots, did you find those test shoots that helped you get your head around the idea?
I feel like it definitely did. The only difficulty that I was having, and I mean, this doesn't matter if it's remote or not, is that sometimes those camera triggers, they just don't want to flash the light. Yeah. But that's not a remote tethering problem. That's just a hardware issue.
So when someone approaches you to do a shoot, how is the best way that someone could book a remote shoot with you? Is it through your website, through your Instagram, or have you found a lot of traffic's come through like the Facebook groups?
Easiest way to contact me is my website because it'll email me directly, but I will take any type of communication. I use Instagram, Facebook, email, and my website. All of my links are posted everywhere. You can even find them in the Remote Tethered group on Facebook. I'm listed in the folder with all of the information for the girls and what they're available for, what type of gear they have. I like to try and stay on top of it as much as possible, and I like to reply in a timely manner. Facebook bans do sometimes cause issues. So
And hurricanes.
And hurricanes.
So have you found, say, for instance, the Facebook groups, the Tether Together and all the others, did you find that helped you focus, say, instead of putting a casting out there to say you were doing remote shooting on, say, Model Mayhem or something like that, did you find the Facebook groups helped you focus? There was a lot more communication coming that way?
Yes, 100%. Now on Model Mayhem, I do get more, but this is so much longer after all this started. Like when Sam made that group, it really helped all of us because as you just said, it was a focused initiative of like, this is what we're all doing and this is what we're all here for. So when you're contacting people, there's no question as to why.
With things obviously, hopefully, in the next few months opening up again, do you find you'll still be offering remote shoots, or is it something that you'll slowly phase out?
I will definitely still be offering remote shoots as long as anybody is interested in doing it. I already set up all the rigs. I already invested money, time, and effort into the equipment. I mean, I'm going to keep doing it for as long as possible because the way that I see it as a business venture, as well as growing a portfolio for anybody involved, is that if I'm in an Airbnb or this location, let's say I've got 4 in-person shoots, but this guy in Germany wants to shoot me for another 2 to 6 hours. Now he has the opportunity to do it as well. So I think that the only difficult thing is when you're traveling and you're bringing luggage and you have to bring the gear is that you just have to pre-plan everything properly in advance to make sure that not only is your cost effective, but that you're not just carrying around gear for no reason, because that's also how you break equipment.
And do you find the remote shoots has sort of got past that first shoot with a photographer, that when you eventually shoot in person with said photographer, you've already broken the ice so you know how to shoot with them?
Yes, definitely. I actually had that happen in Nashville. I had a man shoot with me in my home when I was first started remote shooting. And then when I went on tour, he actually came to my Airbnb in Nashville and we shot. And it went very smoothly.
Thanks, Taylor, for doing the podcast. Have you got a website and your social media that you'd like to plug?
Yes, of course. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation. So for my website, you can find me at www.taylorwhiteModel.com. My Instagram is miss_Taylor White. And if you want to find me on Facebook, you can just type in the @ Taylor White Model. That's both for my personal Facebook page, which you can message me on for modeling, as well as my fan page.